Welcome. We're going to discuss the bundle of rights theory. It's one of my favorites, one of my favorite subjects to discuss. The reason is that I'm kind of the guru on it. I'm not trying to brag. It's just that many people don't know about it. I personally have taught this particular subject at the National Convention on Section 1031s, and I've taught it twice to my competition. And they still don't necessarily understand it or use it. It is complicated, but it's something that you should think about. The bundle of rights theory is used throughout the Internal Revenue Code. It's not just having to do with Section 1031 exchange. And what it means is that something, whatever that something is, has a bunch of different rights and a bunch of different uses. I like to use the example of a cord that may be attached to a fan. And that cord coming from the fan is then plugged into an electrical outlet. If you were to cut that cord, obviously unplug it before you cut the cord, but if you were to cut that cord, what you would find is a bunch of intertwined wires. The bundle of rights theory says that if you own one of those wires, yes, there are a bunch of wires intertwined, but if you own one of those wires, you own part of that electrical cord. Well, that would make sense. Well, the same thing occurs when it comes to real estate. So for example, when you own a piece of real estate, you just don't own the real estate. You have the right to use it. You have a right to go out and get a loan on it. You have the right to go and improve it. You have the right to dig for oil underneath it. You have the right to sell the air rights above the property. There are a bunch of rights. So the bundle of rights when it comes to real estate includes all of those rights and probably a bunch of other rights that I haven't mentioned. So how does that affect and how does that work with a Section 1031 exchange? Let's pretend you put a deposit down on a real estate contract on a building that has not been completed, or a condominium that hasn't been completed. The builder's going to build it, but it may take him 2-3 years to finish that building. So you're not going to get your title to your unit for 2 to 3 years. Meanwhile, that builder has your deposit that you've put down, and maybe additional deposits as you go along time-wise. Could you sell the rights, that contract, to that unit to somebody else and use the proceeds from that to be able to do a Section 1031 exchange? Complicated question. The answer to that is maybe. But if you follow the right rules, the answer should be yes. Why? If you've held that contract for at least 2 years and a day, that's more than even is ever requested by IRS as to ownership. Remember, you don't own the building, but you own the right to that building. That seller, developer, they can't sell that unit to anybody else. So if I own that right, the right to sell, or in this case buy, that builder can't sell it to anybody else. I could sell that one wire that's intertwined, in this case, the right to buy, and do a 1031 exchange. As long as it's been at least 2 years and a day, you should have no problem doing it. Now, if you ask your CPA or you ask your lawyer, they will say, I've never heard of it. Well, that's right. Hardly anybody has ever heard of it, but it can be done, and we've done it. We've done it at least 3 times. And it's a tool that is a very viable tool, but again, I have to teach my competitors what the bundle of rights is. It's kind of funny. You now know more than most CPAs. You're certainly going to know more than your realtors, and you're going to know more than your attorneys. The bundle of rights theory, as I said, is used throughout the Internal Revenue Code. We're just using it toward this one particular example. Now, we, meaning our trade organization, meets once a year with IRS. And we send people up to Washington, D.C. to discuss different issues that may apply to Section 1031 exchanges. I've had the good luck to be able to be on a number of those trips to Washington and meet with IRS. And I personally asked IRS, I said, look, does the bundle of rights apply? And I gave the exact same example. What about a contract to purchase on something that still isn't completed yet? Could I sell that? And the response was, if you own it for 2 years and a day or more, no problem. you could sell that right and it will qualify for a Section 1031 exchange. I then asked IRS to, could you please put that in writing? I mean, I know that my clients are going to want to see that in writing. And they said, well, we may do a private letter ruling on it. We'll see. As of today, I have not received that private letter ruling, but I will also say to you that we went again a couple of years later. I asked the same exact question, gave the same exact factual pattern, and IRS again confirmed, yes, you can do that. So because you're owning a piece, you're tying up a piece of that ownership interest in that piece of real estate. So the bundle of rights is a wonderful thing. Think about it as if you're a developer and now you've got a bunch of your clients that want to resell their units before they ever completed the project. You've got an answer for them. As a matter of fact, there's one builder, one developer that tells their people, hey, go resell it. We're going to charge you a resale fee, but you can do it. And oh, and by the way, when you get all that money, we've got another project to sell you. We've got another replacement property. So he's using his head, this particular developer, in using the bundle of rights theory and Section 1031s. I hope that helps. Go look at all of our other items that we have on our website that may give you information. And of course, we look forward to working with you at Affiliated 1031.